Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We are back yet again for another review, and today we'll be reviewing the final episode of not only season 5 but the series Insecure, y'all. We are at the end of an era, and I'm kind of in my feelings, but let's go out with a bang and get into all the workings of this episode as we wrap up this entire series. So jumping straight into things, we start out from right where we left off last week, and Nathan drops Issa off at home after that, whole argument debacle. And Issa actually asks him to come inside so that they can talk about, everything that went down. And Nathan said what I would have said. He was like, I ain't got nothing to talk about. And he tells her that, you know what, this isn't really good for me. And he thinks he's going to take a step back and that he's good. He's good off this whole thing. He genuinely looked sad and there were tears in his eyes. And I mean, I felt two ways about it. I felt like, one, I do agree with him saying that it's not good for him. As we know, Nathan is bipolar, and I felt like this is just a lot of drama for him to be around. It's too much, and it seems like he's on the brink of having a breakdown. So I agree that he did need to take a step back. But on the flip side, I'm like, 2 seconds ago, y'all said y'all loved each other. So how are you guys breaking up over one argument, one disagreement? But anyways, so she goes inside. She actually said okay before she got out the car. So when she gets inside, she gets a message from Lawrence that basically he's apologizing, saying that that's not how he wanted things to go down. And, she just didn't even seem to respond to the message, and she just looked exhausted of the whole night. It's almost like it drained her of everything inside of her. So she lies down on the couch and she literally goes to bed. When I tell you, she had on the same clothes, didn't undo her hair, makeup and everything. She was just too tired to even do another thing, and it was very relatable. So then the morning comes up, she's still on the couch, and then Molly comes knocking, and Molly's just being a good friend, checking in, and she comes with breakfast, and then she tells Issa, you should eat something, but Issa says, well, she's not hungry. So she goes to take a shower, and of course, who do we see? We see Mirror Bitch. And when I tell you, Mirror Bitch is literally making fun of Issa, like clowning her. And it just goes to show like that we are the hardest on ourselves, because everything that Issa, like every insecurity Issa had, Mirror Bitch brought it up. So Issa said, I just want to fast forward to the part of my life where everything is okay. And when I tell you, I felt that because it was relatable AF, guys. Relatable AF. So anyways, then we get like a fast forward jump to Molly's B-Day party, and Issa is the one who's throwing her the party, and we're seeing Torian, we're seeing her moms, her co-workers are there, and Issa is single. Based on the dialogue that's being had, everyone is booed up because Tiffany's there, came back from Denver to support, and says, oh my god, all of my friends, they're booed up there. And so basically, and then she goes, oh, sorry, Issa. So we know Issa is the single one. Kelly got a new man that goes by the name Desmond. Tiff is thriving. Molly's inside changing outfits because she is nervous to meet Torian's family, because apparently this is the first time she's going to be meeting them. And she eventually comes out to everyone after Issa goes in to get her, and they sing her happy B-Day. So after that, we flash forward again to Issa'S birthday. It's almost like we're just seeing all the birthdays, because it seems like at this point everyone has such separate lives that they're only meeting up on like special occasions. So it's Issa'S birthday. They're celebrating at the Block warehouse, and things are going super well for Issa. She's still single at this point because Molly and Kelly are trying to get her some B-Day dick, according to them. And they are really encouraging her to like get on a fling. So meanwhile, Molly is telling Kelly about a job offer at her firm. So it seems like somewhere along the line, Kelly's gonna start working with Molly. And then Nathan turns up at the party, of course. And I'm just immediately like, what he doing here? Why he here? Like that was my vibe. But he and Issa had like a much needed talk. I guess like that final talk, that closure moment. And he's finally starting to feel at home in LA, which is funny because Issa, not too long ago in the episode, mentioned that she's starting to feel like she would just pack up and go. So it's kind of weird to see like they're in such different places. And they finally get some closure. As I said, he apologizes for ending things the way that he did, and said he was just angry in the moment, and then she just wanted to know that he did not regret the way, like, their relationship, because I think she felt like he may have just regretted even getting involved with her in the first place. And he just clarifies, and he was like, no, I definitely don't regret it. Of course, you know, things ended salty, but then he leaves very peacefully thereafter. And Molly, of course, secured Issa's birthday dick, and yeah, that's where we stop right there. Then we flash forward one more time, and the girls are visiting Tiffany this time in Denver for her birthday, because she's just in a completely new space, new country, and she has a brand new home. So they bought a home, her and Derek. So Tiff is clearly not happy. When I tell you, her face is just giving it all away. But in case we didn't figure that out, she comes out with it and she says, you know what, I hate it. I have no friends here. You know, she's just basically venting, like, things are just not what she thought it would have been. And the only good thing she can think of is that baby Simone is actually doing well in school. But then again, she's the only black girl in her class. So it's almost like she just feels completely out of place. So separate from that, we hear that Issa is dating a new dude. Derek comes out with some snacks, and baby Simone, who is literally a toddler at this point, and says that he is glad that the girls came, because, you know, the guys, they don't be coming out to support each other at special events and shit. So we see that Molly is in the kitchen working, because Molly's gonna be Molly. She gotta catch up on some work. So Issa goes in there to, you know, talk to her and ask her how it's going and so on and so forth. And then she gets out some glasses and starts pouring wine. And while getting the glasses, she sees like a picture of the guys from the event, the event that everybody had to send off Tiff and Derek, which of course includes Lawrence from the going away party. And she kind of pauses and stares at it for a second, kind of longingly, and we know that Issa is completely not over the Lawrence situation. And at this point, it seems like it's at least a year ahead of where we left off. So Molly notices, of course, being her best friend, and then asks her what she would have actually said to Lawrence if Nathan didn't actually come to interrupt that moment when Lawrence actually confessed that he still loves her and all of that jazz. So she said, what about being inconsistent, to Molly? Because she was like, you said, you know, not to be inconsistent. Why are you asking me this? So Molly seems to have realized that Issa really just loves Lawrence and is never really gonna fully move on. So it's almost like she gave her permission or a push that she needed to go after him, and just tells her, like, if that's what you want, that's what you want. So if that's really what you want, then go for it. So a phone call interrupts their conversation, and of course it's Chris, who is calling Molly to tell her something about their mom. And when I tell you, she starts wailing, like beyond crying immediately. So we know right away that something's not right. And as we conclude, we realize that her mom has actually passed away. Now we flip over to Lawrence's house, and it's his birthday, and he's talking to his mom and dad, I presume on FaceTime or something, some sort of video chat. And then Issa actually calls, and when I tell you, he rushes them off the phone. He's like, I gotta go. So he picks up Issa's call, which of course it seems like they haven't spoken in like a very long time since the whole party thing. So Issa didn't really, I guess, want to answer, or didn't want him to answer, because then she was like, who answers the phone on their birthday? So she was expecting the voicemail. So because of that, she goes into a very Issa awkward ramble, and then eventually asks him out, saying, you know, if he's not busy, then maybe she could take him to dinner. But of course, it's his birthday, so he's busy. So he says maybe we could actually go to dinner like some other time. And Issa tries to call Molly after they hang up and to talk to Molly about it, but at this point, Molly's still dealing with the death of her mom, so everything is just going to voicemail. And after that, we go back to Lawrence's place, and we see some chick arrives at the door and says, hey, baby. So, of course, that's his date, and he heads out with her. And I've never seen two more confusing people in my entire life. So let me get this straight. Issa is dating Nathan, but doesn't really like Nathan like that. but is staying in the relationship because, you know, it's better than being alone, I suppose. Lawrence literally wrecks these people's relationship because he loves Issa and wants to be with Issa. Now Issa is single and Lawrence is dating a whole other chick. Make it make sense. You two are confusing the hell out of me. And I was just like, I cannot. They give me whiplash. They need to figure it out. So after that, Issa heads out for a meetup with Tiffany and Kelly and, you know, the various spouses, and Molly is still absent. So she actually brings Nasser, which is the new guy that she's been talking to. Kelly announces that she's pregnant with her new man, the man that I mentioned earlier. And of course, Tiff is so excited for Kelly because, as we know, Tiff and Kelly are really like besties. And then Issa is just kind of feeling a little bit out of her depth because Issa was just asking Kelly, like, I thought you never wanted kids. And Kelly was like, yeah, I never really thought I wanted them, but it turns out I only wanted this guy's kid. And then because Tiffany and Kelly go off into this like mom talk. Oh my god, and the birthday and the baby clothes this and this and that and that. And Issa is just kind of standing there fading into the background. And I think this kind of happens in real life when your friends start having kids and then, you know, you're still not in that space. It still feels a bit awkward. And so, of course, she eventually goes home. She's at home in the bathroom, in the mirror, trying to get ready because, you know, Boo is ready. They're getting ready to throw it down. But then Mirror Chick is there and she's finally being nice to Issa because she tells her, like, she can finally claim her in public and they can go out because they're all here. Her and her friends are doing the things. And so while Mirror Bitch is talking, the phone rings and it's actually Lawrence, and her and Mirror Bitch literally have a back and forth. Like, are you gonna answer it? You shouldn't answer it. Yeah, I'm gonna answer it. No, you shouldn't answer it. And I'm just like, Issa, get the phone. So she has that whole dilemma on whether to answer, and I presume she didn't answer because that's where that scene ends. So the next scene now, we're finally at Molly's B-Day. So another year has passed because finally we're seeing Molly on screen again. And Molly is back at her, like, basically back to her old self, but she says that, like, she misses her mom, of course. And Molly and Issa talk about how hard it's been to maintain their friendship between, you know, life and work and all the other stuff because it's getting harder as they're getting older. So, by the way, Molly is at work and Issa is at her place of work, and they're actually talking on the phone. So then in Molly's office, Kelly actually comes in Molly's office to remind her to leave for her B-Day it's obvious that Kelly clearly took the job offer Molly told her about, and Issa is buying a newer office space. And who does she have come check it out with her? Lawrence, of course. So she gives him the tour. He's hyping her up, encouraging her and telling her like she's doing a good job. And then Issa shares the doubts that she had. And she's doing it in like a metaphorical way. Like she's talking about the building. And she's saying like, you know, she had to believe that things could work out for her and work out for them to eventually work. For it to actually work and stop doubting herself. And so he looks at her and says, so do you believe it will work out? Which at this point, it's very clear that they're talking about their situation. And she says, I'm okay with finding out. And they finally kiss and make up. And I'm just like, thank you for the clarity. Because these two give me whiplash. And you know what? I really realized that Lawrence is really for Issa. Because even in Issa's awkward moments while they're kissing, she ends up knocking something off the desk. And just very Issa of her. And he actually like chuckled at that. So you could tell that Lawrence really does love Issa for who she truly is, because she corny as hell and he's always laughing. Flash forward 1 year later, Molly and Torian are literally getting married, and I'm so hyped for Molly because we've been there through season 1. We've seen her date the married guy. We've seen her date the trash guys. So like seeing her work on herself and finally reaping the results of like true love, like someone who loves her for her and who matches her fly and was up to her initial standards, is so beautiful to see. Tiff is at the wedding as a bridesmaid and has quite the belly, so we know she's pregnant again with baby number 2. Molly has like a little section to commemorate her mom at the wedding, which I thought was such a nice, lovely touch. It's kind of like if she can't be here in person, let's have her pictures here. And then Lawrence is Issa's +1, so it's fair to say that things are working out. And you know what else I noticed, guys? Issa has a ring on her ring finger. But at this point, we're like, is she engaged? Is she married? So then we see Issa, who goes inside and she's helping Molly to take off her wedding dress at the end of the wedding. And when I tell you they have the sweetest moment, they share like such a heart to heart moment. And I love to see this because I feel like the friendship is like the underlying relationship in between all these romantic relationships. The friendship relationship has really been there since season 1. We've seen the best of them, the worst of them, when we thought they were no longer going to be friends, to them like working through that to being together again. So to have this moment where Molly literally thanks Issa and tells her, you know, like, thank you for just being here for me and loving me for me through like me being me, was such a sweet sentiment. And then Issa literally just says, it's the same for me, girl, and she's handing over to Torian now. It was just really nice to see. And then Issa's The Block offices is up and running. Beyond that, that's the next scene we see. And Issa got a new car, y'all. She's out here looking like a whole boss chick in a full bright pink suit. The hair is late, okay? So she's on her way driving home, and this moment was so just like nostalgic to all the pivotal moments in her life, because we passed some of the places that really were just like major keys to her journey. So we passed the dunes, which we know that's where she started, that's where she lived. We passed Nina Rosa, which we know that was her and Molly's spot. We passed We Got Y'all, and we know that was where the struggle of everything started, until she eventually arrives home and Lawrence is there with Elijah, who is no longer a baby. He's a whole toddler now, and Elijah just comes out, and Issa, now we see for real, the engagement rings, and then she addresses it. So they are fully engaged, because while she's talking on the phone to Molly, she says like, oh, is this what I have to look forward to? So we know she's engaged. So Molly is actually in Greece. So while they're having the conversation, that's revealed. And she's just having the time of her life with her husband, because she's just like, yeah, girl, this nigga's really like wearing out my So Molly is living that life, and it's just great to see how they ended the season. Kind of, it comes full circle. We're like, they're still as close as they were, even though they're obviously living such different lives now, because Molly called Issa to gossip, and that's where the episode closes out, on them on the phone, actually just like having girl chat. And it was a beautiful thing to see, y'all. It was wonderful closing out. I know a lot of people will not be satisfied, but for me, they concluded everything that we needed to know, like in terms of relationships and so on. So now we know that Issa is most likely going to get married to Lawrence. They're going to co-parent and possibly have their own kids. Molly's married and thriving. Kelly got her man and her baby. Tiffany and Derek are off and having a second child. So I also like that the ending didn't feel like, oh, we're concluding. It feels like the show has ended, but their lives go on. It's almost like they're real people, and they've just like moved on to the point where it's like, okay, they're grown now, they're good. We've seen the journey of how they got there. And the growth of the characters, I think, was very realistic, but still showed like enough growth for us to be like, yeah, she did that, especially with Issa, you know. And I just love to see it, and I think it's just like a beautiful moment, a beautiful closing, and I quite enjoyed this episode. It was a lot to condense in maybe 40 minutes, but let me know what y'all think. Are y'all happy with the ending? I know, you know, people definitely have thoughts about Issa and Lawrence. Are y'all happy for Molly, or do you think it was a bit unrealistic that she and Torian fell in love? Share everything with me in the chat. How do you think Tiffany's gonna deal with like being out by herself and like the second baby? It's just so many questions, y'all. So many questions. But that's all for this. I was gonna say this week, but that's all for this series, guys. And until the next series, and if you have any suggestions on what we can review next, please leave that in the comments also. And until then, hugs and kisses, y'all. And remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe.